good. All right, boys. Tennis updates. Who watched last week? Tournaments. You guys see the Barcelona, Banja Luka, Stuttgart, and what was the fourth one? Stuttgart was Iga. Banja Luka was Lajovic. That guy's backhand, man, is awesome. There's the guy to beat Djokovic there, and then he beat Rublev in the final. And was another one. Barcelona was Alcaraz. That was a
Jumping in the pool.
the jumping in the pool. I'll remember the fourth one because it was four of them. It was fun. Something very interesting. There was you could have the same four winners from last year.
Same tournaments.
Same four tournaments. Same four winners. So Alcaraz was a repeat. Iga Swiatek was a repeat. Rune. Rune beat Van der Zandschulp in the final. That was a weird ending. Again, with Rune in the middle of it. And then it was the Banja Luka there with Rublev was defending that one. So it was almost
a four.
A four-peat and four different. That's a cool one. Barcelona was nice, really nice. Some good tennis. Even Banja Luka there was good. Iga Swiatek, I guess it beat Zabalenka, right? You like to watch her?
Yeah, she's
She
she's
can rip the ball.
she's
man.
a happy person off the court.
Yeah. She can. But Iga Swiatek, man, she is on clay.
She's tough.
She's just a
So tough.
competitor.
Yeah.
She's mental.
Do you know her? You know her nemesis? You know who that is? Rybakina. Rybakina beat her 3 times.
Really?
Yeah. 3 times. She doesn't have an answer for her.
On clay?
I think on hard. I think
On
Rybakina
hard.
beat her because she beat her at Australian Open. She beat her at Indian Wells or Miami, one of those two. I think Indian Wells, and Indian Wells because Swiatek didn't play Miami.
So
And
Madrid this week?
so now Madrid, they expanded the tournament. It used to be a 1-week tournament, and it's they made it a 10-day one. It's ladies and the guys, So that's a good one. Some good tennis.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think they expanded the draw to 128. So they started qualifiers on Monday.
That's
And
big.
the main draw started either Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, that's big. Wawrinka won a 3-setter yesterday versus Maxine Cressy. 7-6 in the third, I think. Yeah, I think that's what was the score. That was a good match. And there was some good ones happening now. I mean, we could put someone now here, but
What do you think
We're
to
good.
Stan? Is he going to make a run again?
I think he has one more run here. I think he might have a quarter to a French Open. I think he could.
Is that his best surface?
I mean, he won. Maybe, but maybe not now because he's older now. I don't think because the clay court matches are more
Right,
grinding.
Yeah.
But he won U.S., he won Australian, he won the French, and the only one that didn't win Wimbledon. I don't think his game is suited for that, but he could. I think he has a quarters in him. I think he can. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see him.
Would be nice.
What's
Yeah.
his age?
37 now.
And I think I just saw he's like 83,
Is that where he is? Yeah.
ranked 83.
I wonder where is 37. How, in comparison, one of the oldest guys on tour.
I think is there, especially in the top 100.
Right.
I mean, Djokovic is 36, Nadal is
Right.
37. Nadal is 38. No, 37, and Djokovic will turn 36.
Yeah.
That's and Murray too.
Right.
Murray's 36.
But other
as
than
well.
that those core 3, nobody's up there.
The only one that's gonna retire or did retire was, or this is his last tournament, is Feliciano. Feliciano
Feli.
Lopez.
Yeah.
On the double side is Mahut. Nicol Mahut still
Yeah.
playing. He's in
Yeah.
that range. I'm sure there's a couple other ones, but man, they extend now the lifespan of a
Yeah,
player, which is
The doubles.
awesome. The doubles too, but even the singles, man, to have your number one in the world be 35. We had it since Fed was
Yeah.
number one in the world, but it's still pretty cool.
It's all the hyperbolic chambers and everything.
Yeah,
out
the
there
eggs,
doing,
right? Yeah.
Maybe.
yeah, no, they
Something to it.
did. Oh, there is. Well, Djokovic does that recovery, right?
Right.
I think he's doing it after every match.
Yeah.
He's injured too a little bit. I think his shoulder, because he pulled out of Madrid, and Nadal said it's not 100% fit, so he's not going to play. It's going to make for an interesting French Open if both of those guys not 100% and they both have 22. You know, that'll be interesting. But Alcaraz, and I mean,
Yeah,
if they
he's
hit one
gonna
of those
be-
guys, the young guys on fire early, if they get deeper into the
they-
tournament, I think they know what to do
They know
there.
what to do.
And yeah, I think on the lady side, I think it's going to be a battle too for the French. Swiatek is
She's got to be the fave.
she's a favorite, but then you have Zabalenka, Rybakina, you have Clay, man. You never know. It's also the risk of injuries higher too, slipping and sliding and all that. And what do you think American players on clay this year? They're gonna break the curse.
Yeah.
Was that second round?
That was for a while. I think they made it deeper. I think we can look it up, but I think last year was, I'm not sure if Tiafo or somebody. They made it deeper there. They could. I mean, Fritz was doing okay on clay. He did all right in what did he do? Semis
Yeah, but I
in
think
Monte Carlo.
you are
Yeah.
seeing more
Yep.
multi-surface players from the U.S. now, right?
Which is good. Which is awesome.
Where
And I-
they used to be strictly kind of hardcore
Hardcore.
players coming up, but now I think you are seeing more multi-surface players.
Well, I think it's the right thinking because you can't be world number one if you're
Right.
if you're not comfortable on all surfaces. You just
Correct.
can't. Right?
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
It might be later on when all those guys, the overall guys, but Alcaraz can play on everything. On grass, it's getting there, but he can play hard and clay, and those two are like, super fast. I mean, all the other ones obviously they can do everything. Medvedev is tough because he cannot do clay too good, but he made a run to the quarters last year, I think. Quarters, or maybe he was injured last year, had a surgery, so I think he made it to the quarters. I think he can end up world number one this year. I think he's the first one in points.
Right now?
Yeah. He won 4 tournaments.
I can check, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, when you play as much as he does,
But does he have big points to defend?
No, that's the thing.
That's
That's the thing. All
that's
those
a
guys
big
do.
plus.
All those guys do.
It's a big plus for him then.
Djokovic has a bunch of points at the end of the season to defend because he won the Masters, the year end. He won. He lost Paris in the final to Rune, but he won another one there. So he's got some points. And then Alcaraz, he also does have points to defend towards the end. I think Paris and he didn't play year end either, so he could do good too. But he has to defend U.S. Open because he won it last
That's
year.
big.
That's big. And I'm not sure this year if they're gonna do. We can check that. I'm curious if what is Wimbledon doing with the Russian players, and if the ATP is gonna allow, because last year there's no points for
No
Wimbledon.
points.
they announced a couple weeks ago that they're allowing everybody in.
Good. 'Cause
Wimbledon.
They got a lot of crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They got a lot of crap.
I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
And by the way, Medvedev's on 5,200 points compared to Djokovic at 7,100.
No, don't check the 12-month. Check the race to Turin, like the live rankings for this year. I think he's it's what he did this year. I think he might be
Yeah,
ahead.
he's number one.
He's number one,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
And by a pretty considerable margin. He's at 3,200. Novak's at 2,500.
Yeah. No, he's got a lot of.
Yeah.
He's ahead. He won that tournament. He won like 4 tournaments. Final. Sorry, 3 tournaments. Won final in Indian Wells when he got trashed by Alcaraz. He wins Miami. So that's big.
That's a good run right there.
Mm. That's a good one. Yeah, so that's some good matches. I didn't check what's gonna happen tonight, but it's nice. On the coaches there, big coaches that we'd like to hear what they have to say. Cahill is making a move. Good move with Sinner. I think he's doing some good job with his team. And Moratoglu
He's solid.
he's very solid. He really is. And both he studied the games, man. He's both on women's and men's side. He's in tune. He watches those guys. He's technical. He's hands on. It's good. I think Cahill's mind though is just something to emulate, to study. The way that guy sees the game, man. And yeah, there's a couple others too that I might not. And then the big, going back to the latest one, the Swiatek, she openly for the past few years that she's struggling with a mental strength.
Really?
Yeah. She says that's part of her team. And on the other hand, your girl Zabalenka says she doesn't need one because the Australian, she's like, I just have to figure out things myself because she had that. I guess everybody's different.
See, but I love that. Like I
Uh-huh.
feel like that's the way to do it, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's a little different, but
Everyone's different, yeah.
I love the idea of just like figuring out your head by yourself.
Well, it goes back to that discussion we had about allowing coaching,
True.
right? Were you here for that one? What's your thinking on that?
Allow it. Changeovers or all the time?
Where does it lead?
Where does it lead to if you allow coaching?
It's allowed now.
Yeah, you can talk to them in their when they're in your box.
Mid game.
Yeah. If you're on the same side of the court.
Same side.
I think it's
Yeah.
terrible. Just
Well,
my opinion.
Yeah.
That's half the game.
right.
The mental aspect of it.
That's what
Getting
we're
getting
thinking,
out
yeah.
of your own way and trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
I think changeovers, I'm 50-50 on that. Between sets, I don't think that's I think that's fine
What
if they're going to allow it.
we talked quite a bit on that, but let's touch up on it again because my thinking there was that this is the beginning of it, and it doesn't make a difference now. But if you fast forward this concept 2, 3, 4 years, now you're gonna end up having people that give you live stats, like on hit to his backhand, a 4 shot. Like so now you're having
Oh, of
a
course.
machine there
Yeah.
that doesn't think. So what he's saying, like figure out on your own. The mental part, you'll have a coach in your head, kind of like,
It's going to be gone.
yeah, you don't need that part. So
You don't have to think.
the
You don't have
ups-
to think, but you still need the
You need to
mental strength to follow whatever you're being told.
Yeah, the point
Yeah.
is, he's not gonna have one guy figuring it out. You have a bunch of other brains on it. Kev had a good point that it might make it for a very, very good product. You know, like look how many coaches you have in football, man. Right? Imagine that in 15 years in tennis. Did you have stats guys on the top?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying that it could lead to that.
No, it definitely could lead to that, but I don't think you could compare football to tennis.
To some extent.
Well, how about high school to ATP? Like obviously there's a big leap there, but in
Yeah.
high school you can coach your players on changeovers.
And
right?
Davis Cup.
You're actually allowed to coach in the new league that my school is in.
Same game.
Same game, in between points.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
But those
Well-
guys are doing it too.
Well, what do you feel like the value of that might be?
It's a young mind, and they're just still
Yeah, you're
developing.
coaching,
So
yeah.
I think at that age, at a junior level, I don't even care what level at a junior. I think it's very important. That sets it. And then when you're mature enough, I don't know if there's like an age limit or anything, but I think that's when that's supposed to kick in, and you're supposed to be able to figure it out on your own,
Mhm.
piecing the physical and the mental part together. That's a huge thing we always talk about
Yep.
at our clinics. One person can do it physically, one person can do it mentally. The good ones can do both or can rely on one or the other
Yeah.
if the other one isn't working. And what you were saying is like Sabalenka wants to figure it out on her own. So she's trying to get mentally strong on her own. Who knows
Yeah.
who knows if it's going to work, but
I mean, if she won the Australian Open, I'll
you
sign up
see-
for that.
So
Yeah. No, you bring a good point there. It's like to what level, because you're helping out. It's just at what level that's now not becoming an individual sport.
correct.
So that's I think where the line is. And I right, you kind of want to be impartial there, and you like the old school because that's where you're used to it. But I'm not sure if it's better or not. I think it's just going to lead to. I mean, you were saying that too, right? It's going to lead to some some changes for sure. Yeah, I don't know. But with the juniors, I agree. With the juniors, I agree because they need to figure out ways of doing it on the spot. So that's. But it's been happening. With the juniors, it's been happening because you have coaches or parents
Correct.
talking in the changeovers.
Yeah.
And, what do you guys think of shifting to juniors a little bit? What do you think in today's day and age the talent pool looks like? Your average walking on a tennis club where's the athletic ability of that average kid in comparison with 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Like physical attributes?
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place. I don't think there's one trend.
You don't?
From what I see.
What do you think, Alfie?
Yeah, I don't. I think probably average person coming in, it's lower, but the height of the top is higher. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
like,
Ceiling.
so somebody who walks in that's average is a little bit lower than it was
Mhm.
years ago, right? But the top of the spectrum is higher than it was years ago.
Do you think that's because the sport is pushed to a higher limit and then the requirements and the tools that you have to develop earlier?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
30 years ago, topspin was not necessary
Right,
to
yeah.
a junior, but now they have to do that.
Right,
So now
yeah.
their game evolves.
Yeah, evolves.
Yeah, that's a good point. My opinion is that their athletic abilities are not as cultivated.
Right,
It's not
yeah.
not there. They're not as cultivated right now because of the phones and tablets. Because that time they spent on the phone and tablet 15 years ago was
We all
spent
spent
on outside
On the
running.
grass, whatever it is.
Yeah, learning to fall, to
Yep.
throw a ball, to get up, to change direction, to chase each other, all that stuff. That it's there. It's just not cultivated.
Correct.
So it's not like they cannot run, but you can see it in 2-3 weeks. They start picking up. So the athletic ability is there. I think just don't think is, fed enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the way I look at it.
Kind of piggybacking off that, what I had for Larry here, I wanted to talk about the importance of playing on a high school tennis team compared to those that choose not to and go the individual route to
Yeah,
tournament play only and skip their high school season.
that's a good point.
Like what
That's
are
a
the
good point.
benefits of playing on the team? What are the detriments of playing on the team? What's the benefits of playing in the tournaments?
That's a
What's
good
the-
one.
Because I feel like now you see it more than ever where kids are choosing not to play the team aspect
yeah.
and are relying on whatever the USTA, the UTR tournaments that they're playing.
Yeah, it's a broad subject here. What do you
Right.
think, Laro?
I mean, we've had conversations about this, Dolphy. I'm on the end where it's important to be on the high school team, and you could supplement it with
Yeah.
tournaments. I think going the full other way. I mean, besides tennis ability and the experience, I think it's more of the social aspect. I think that's a major part that a lot of these high-level juniors forget about.
And it's funny because the goal of some of these high-level juniors is to be on a college tennis team.
That's a very good point.
And they
Correct.
choose to offset any team aspect
Yeah.
before that, right? So how does that, right? Like if your goal is to play Division I tennis or whatever it is, high-level team tennis, but you choose not to be on a team in the stages that lead up to that.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point. I see both ends,
Yeah.
and I think it's case by case on the division, and right, because if you have somebody that's on a really, really high level, but their town, their high school,
Right. They're getting nothing out of practice.
it's in a So I don't disagree to some extent the fact that I'm so focused on tennis I don't want to do it, but at the same time being part of the team is so important because it's not just about winning, it's
Right.
about being with your peers and helping when they lose and cheering you on when you win, so you become a little bit more well-rounded human, which is I think it's a massive point that goes beyond your tennis career. So it comes down to time. you know, do you have the time to do that or not? Because I mean, how much do you drive every day, man, in your matches? No, that's a time commitment. So
It's
you
huge.
see both ends of it.
Yeah,
I lean towards playing a team, be part of a team,
I do too.
help others. If you're good, if you're high level, help others whatever you can. It's gonna develop in a better person.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah.
Yes, you're not gonna win your 5 tournaments, but you know what? We always talk about this. As a college coach, I would look. I'm not a college coach, but I will look. Okay, was this guy part of the team? Because I'm looking also for the human part of it. Like, is he a good team player? Because that can affect the entire team dynamic. Right.
Easily.
That's important too. Like we have some of our girls that they win all the time, but they could play tournaments, but they choose to play on a team.
A team.
Because they're part of something and they built on something and they want to. So that's nice. Dude, when you're 35 and 40 and 50, you want to look back and talk with your high school friends that, hey, remember that time we won the championship? Remember that time like we got beat? I think those are the moments that are important. How many wins and losses, man? That goes away. That washes off, and nobody cares.
In the long run, yeah.
Nobody in the
Right.
long run, no. But nobody's gonna ask you. But what was your record in high school? Did you have fun in high school? Did you have how many friends did you make? And are you still hanging out with those people? I think that's important. Yeah, that's a good point, Alfie. It's but again, goes to what's the goal that you put? And we talked last time for that kid. What's the pressure? Do you train him to be so goal oriented that gives up every social aspect to the competitive one? And I'm not sure if that's helpful.
Correct. I mean, if you get really into it, and what's the percentage of high-level juniors playing competitive college tennis and then making the tour?
No.
And that's
low.
where a lot of, I think it's either the junior or the parent, they have that sort of pipe dream that my kid might have a chance to crack it. And there are parents that have that.
So let's split it open because
I'm not going to name names, but there's one parent here.
Yeah, that's the fork in the road right there.
You see? So right there. And
If the kids wants it, I think you're right. Then let them do. Because enjoy
you
what you want to do.
Correct.
If the parent wants it, it never works.
No, it doesn't.
It never works. You might think that you imprint your wishes on them and they listen to you, and if they don't want to do it, you're done. You're done.
Yep.
You're done as a player, as a parent. That's not the right thing. I don't know. At least in my book, if they want it, let them have it because they want something. They're gonna focus on them and they'll do it. I mean, we know with parents, if they don't want it, they're not gonna do it.
Correct.
Or they'll do it, but they're not gonna give 100%. Right? That's such an important part to understand as a parent of supporting but not pushing. Right?
Good way of putting it, supporting.
Support whatever they do. Encourage, encourage in a tough moment and walk them through and disappointments and losses and cheer with them on victories, but not when you make them do stuff, man. There's so many stories. Like there's a story that is stuck with me. I played this kid. He was 2 years younger than me. He ended up being a very good player, but he ended up stopping too. I was 14. He was 12. We played. I had one of those good days. I spoke before when I had a really bad day. This was a really good day. It was no. It was whatever. The dad put that kid in the trunk of his car. I was like, you played like a dog, ride like a dog. Dude. I still remember everything in that scenario. I'm like, what is this? That's child abuse number one.
Yeah.
Right? So but man, how's that kid he's 12. He'll remember. He played somebody older than him and me in 2 years. He beat me after that, man. And 2 years later, he was just like, I'm like, okay, remember when I beat you 0-0? That was my win of him. That was it, because I didn't beat him after that. But come on, man. And of course he stopped. Of course, as he got to the age when he was ready to. He's just like, no way, man. I'm not doing this. This is not this is not what I want to do. But you see so many of those cases, and it's as the parents trying to implement their wishes, right?
Correct.
And the kids, and it's college players jumping in ATP. What's your take on that? You know what I mean? Like play
Like they're
college
playing
and
as
then
an
play professional
amateur?
tennis. No, play college and a
and
higher
then-
level. Yeah,
oh,
play
and then
college
commit.
and then commit
Yeah.
to, because that's. I hear it pushed, and I don't buy it. I hear it pushed that it's so good to go to college because you can still make it. I think you're losing 4 years. Might go to college 1, but then you cannot jump on a tour at 22, man. You can, but it's rare. Isner did it. Great for him. McEnroe dropped after 2 years. He was at Stanford 2 years, and you cannot lose the 2 years of beat
Yeah, those
downs.
are 2 years probably of your prime too, that you're really physically getting better, right?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's harder for sure at that top level. But for me personally, like I didn't really have the like foundation of any of my tennis skills until I went to college. That was the
Yeah, so
first.
you're
that
on a
was,
different
you know
stage
what
of
I- you know,
development. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
Obviously, I was
That's a
an
good point.
ATP player, but I didn't have access to play inside 5 days a week when I was growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
I was lucky to get inside 1 day a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, no,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
So, college was really where I started to. I got some of those. Got some of the stuff I needed to build my game, and that's where I thought I saw the biggest jump of ability of mine of going forward. That's probably where I made the most progress because I was
That's
accessible to strength and conditioning. Never did that in high school, right?
yeah.
I had access to come in here whenever I wanted for free. You know,
Yep,
like
yep.
I didn't have that when I was growing up. I would hit with my coach 1 time a week inside. You know, like
Yeah.
so it was kind of the first time I was really able to get everything out of playing 5, 6, sometimes 7 times a week. Whereas before, I'd hit with my buddies, but I didn't have that training mentality, right?
It's definitely, if you, especially in the college, that it's definitely a very, very good opportunity to train and improve for sure. It's just like you said. It's like what? Yeah.
Yeah.
what
What's the level
what's the
there, right?
level
For
that
me,
you-
I knew I wasn't going to the ATP tour.
Yeah, but for
Right,
like, for what you
but
want,
I
yeah.
got the most out of my 4 years because
Yeah.
I was putting the work in and had access to everything that they gave me, right? Like
Yeah.
strength and conditioning, court time.
They
some
definitely get you to a
professional
level,
coaching,
yeah.
right? That I didn't
Yeah.
have, right? Like
Yeah.
my high school coach was a soccer guy that didn't, you know what I'm saying? So it was just totally different mindset. The strategies and stuff I learned from.
Were you guys doing soccer warm-ups for your tennis practice?
Oh, we were doing
Yeah, it's I think that's a very good point because it will get you. It will definitely raise your level.
yeah.
Will it raise it enough to play at the highest level of professional
Right.
tennis? It might, but time-wise,
Yeah, it is.
you're
a chunk.
behind a little bit. I also think professional tennis, man, it's the suffering, the grind is so important.
I think that's the key point.
You need to.
It's you need to be able. You call it suffering, but you need to be able to experience the tour aspect.
Yes, the losses, the
And-
disappointments,
and
yeah.
not being. I'm not going to say it. Being coddled by your team aspect
Yep.
in college.
Yeah, you need to be
You're,
able.
you're gonna go ups and downs with your coach and your teammates. When you turn professional, it's you and your team, your coach and whoever. When you lose, that's it. You're by yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the building parts that you're talking about,
Yeah,
where you lose those 2 years at the age of 17, 18, 19,
19, yeah.
that all these other kids, especially from not the Americas, that are
Europe
doing
and South
that,
America,
because
yeah.
that's more
Yeah.
stressed and pushed. So they're ahead.
They're ahead.
That's like their minor league system.
Yes.
The U.S. is sort of using college as their minor league system, and as much as I'm for college, you can look at the numbers. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
It just
There are-
doesn't
there
work.
Are, there
by
are
facts.
success stories, but
Correct.
yeah.
And I think women's to men's game, I think it works even less in the women's game.
That's a
Yes.
very good
You know what I'm
point.
like?
You're
you see
right.
Coco Gauff. She's 15, 14 years old.
Correct.
Making it to
That's
the
a very good point.
quarterfinals of the U.S. Open. The
Yeah.
men's game, you can't do that. If you're
No.
14 years old, you're not competing with
That's
anybody.
different.
Yeah, because
you
it
know what I'm
develops
saying?
sooner.
So I think I
Yeah.
feel like the women's game, skipping out on is even more important.
Is more important if you want to
Yeah.
go tour.
Right.
WTA.
I don't think right now that I can think of Danielle Collins.
Late bloomer though.
Yeah. But again, numbers, right? So what, you have 5 in the top 100? I don't think it's 5, but let's say 5. That finished 4 years of college and
4 years. I mean, any. I think across the board in any professional sport, to go 4 years in college is gonna put you at a detriment.
yeah, other than Isner, yeah.
What
Yeah.
other sport are you gonna go 4 years in?
You could still be good in basketball,
Football too, right?
football.
Yeah, but that's later.
But one and done was made in basketball. That was.
Yeah, but you could. I mean,
Yeah, you could be good, but
I think the numbers are bigger
yeah.
there. Even baseball too.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger, but I think it's more the individual sports.
Yes, and it's also the nature of it.
Yeah.
What I believe is extremely necessary for any player that wants to have the capability, athletic capability of becoming a top 100. You need to go and grind and suffer and sweat and bleed on the clay in South America or Europe.
Yeah.
You need to go there. The amount of players that you never hear of and the leagues that those guys have there, and how the point is that much longer, so it keeps you in that competitive. The average point in clay is probably, I don't know. Actually, that's an interesting stat. I don't think we could ever find that, but it's probably double. Like if on a hard court the average hit is like 3, I would say the average in clay could be 6 or 5,
least.
and that's massive.
Yeah.
That's a massive difference, right?
Yep.
You need to hit those 3, 4 extra balls a point that develop your
Yeah.
mind. I think the clay is just necessary. It's a must. You might be able to go around it, and you might be able to make a top 10 without it, or even number 1. Like look at Sampras, he did it. But he has to win everything else, right? Sampras got to what, semis? That was the best he got, right?
At the French.
Yeah,
Yeah, semis.
semis, right? Yeah, that's he wanted that one. He wanted that one so much.
What do you think? Like the professional men or women, how much time are they attributing to each surface?
Yeah, I guess it depends. Yeah. I don't know.
Like if you're a specialty in clay, you're gonna spend more time on clay. If you're right, is that how they do it?
Yeah.
Or, and then they just prime up for the clay season when they need to, and
Yeah, what the switch is and
Right.
everything else. Yeah, I think over time they find their easy, easy buttons
yeah.
to get there. But yeah, I think they do train per the surface they play. One thing that speaking of surfaces that's very important to keep in mind. It's interesting how grass has a Grand Slam, the most prestigious Grand Slam of all
Mm-hmm.
in Wimbledon. They don't have any Master 1000s on grass.
It's crazy.
And the season is the shortest. So the most prestigious of the
Yeah,
Grand
has the
Slams has the
least.
shortest preseason and the few amount of tournaments on that surface. Isn't that crazy? It's not like, you talk about the Masters 1000s that, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic have and so forth. Federer's clearly a grass court guy, but you can't win any Masters 1000s on grass.
On grass.
Because it's none. 0.
That is interesting.
Right? But I don't know. I don't know how it was. I guess 3 of the 4 Grand Slams were played on grass at some point. I think they're all on grass, other than the French Open.
Correct.
Isn't that
the
interesting?
Australian Open was played
Australian
on
was
grass at
grass
one point.
and
And
Old
y-
Flushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to play
It's grass.
the country club in Long Island, whatever it was called.
No, they had it at Flushing. There was grass
It
courts
was
there.
grass.
Yeah.
I thought they had it somewhere
I
else
know at
before
some
that.
point U.S. Open. Check that out. I think I checked out the last year the U.S. Open was on grass. I think it was a time when all 3 of them were on grass. And now it's just have 1. And obviously all the pre-tournaments would have been on grass. Because Longwood had a tournament too, right?
Yes, Longwood did.
Newport has one.
Yeah. Yeah, they were
Last time the U.S. Open was played on grass was 1974.
74, yeah.
From 75 to 77, it was on clay. And
Wow.
And ever since
It was on
70
hard true, right?
and since 78, it's been hard.
What was the venue for the last grass?
Yeah, it's interesting how all the surfaces are changing, and we did. What was it? Medvedev was complaining how slow Indian Wells was.
Flushing.
Flushing, right?
Flushing, right? On grass.
Yeah,
Yep.
grass. They had a grass court.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, let's get a little bit into our nitty gritty of teaching and important parts of teaching. And let's start with teaching in the industry. We've been doing this for a little bit, Larry. Dolphy's on our heels, and El's right behind him.
They're gonna be overtaking me soon.
But it's right. What do you think is the key to stay teaching successfully in tennis?
My personal opinion?
Yeah.
I think staying connected to the game. And that doesn't necessarily mean following the players on the tour. I think staying connected to the game physically.
That's
Playing.
That's important. Yeah.
I think that's huge. And I know I've had talks with Dolphy over there. I think you have to have a little bit of that competitiveness in you, playing yourself personally.
Yeah.
Whether it's with your buddies, contract, whatever, playing league matches, throwing in a tournament here and there. I think that only makes your teaching better. You always talk about information. I'm still gathering information on when I teach. Every single time I'm on the court, all the time. When I play a match, I'm gathering information. Oh, this is how I can convey this to that lesson.
You got to test concepts. Yeah.
It's always changing.
Yes.
There's not a guidebook or a textbook that says this is how you teach the forehand.
Yeah.
This is how you teach the. It's all experience.
No, you cannot. Yeah.
And it's all
you cannot
how,
make it up.
And it's all how you relate to your lesson too. You can't teach a forehand to two kids the same way.
Yeah.
The way you convey it, the technique part, but how you convey it to those people. I
Well,
think
you got to enter their brain to see
that's
how they perceive.
huge.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that personality, you can't be a good teacher.
Yeah. What do you think, Dolphy? That's a
I
good
think
point, Larry. Yeah.
the first thing that comes to my mind is like schedule wise not being too repetitive, so not doing the same lesson, the same group over and over. Like the way I like to set up my schedule, I like to have some beginners, I like to have some intermediate,
Stay
I like to
connected
have
with
some
everything,
high level.
Yeah.
I like so now around the clock, right? You're working different things all the time rather than you only hit with high level juniors. You're gonna lose your mind.
Don't
that
become a
day.
niche guy.
Right.
Yeah. Don't. That's a very, very important part. You don't want to restrict yourself to one type of clientele,
Yep.
to a one type of demographic, to a one type. You just can't. If you want to stay, because otherwise you just, it's the repetitive stuff.
Yep.
And if you're not creative in what you do and how you teach, you have to like it. You have to constantly try to improve.
Yep.
Right. And try different concepts, and test it out with different groups.
Work with different people. Right.
See how they receive the same information that you try to. I think that's the biggest challenge. Just not to. Because our freaking ego and our brain wants to find the easy way. The easy way is like, I'm just gonna do this type of teaching. But then you end up just not challenging yourself, not enjoying anything that you do to produce because you've done it before. It's not a new challenge, and just you become just flat. And then if you look at that clock for too long, now you dread your day, and now you're done. It's just constant progress. Like I heard this a few weeks ago, and it was kind of what we talk about. You have to be an infinite player in playing, meaning that it's the game never ends. Like what you said about playing, you can always. But there's things that I stopped doing that I was doing 15 years ago playing, just because they don't apply anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there's things that I wasn't doing 15 years ago that I'm doing it now, and like everybody else. So that's that infinitive player concept. That's such a good concept. Same thing with coaching, man. Like our coaching has changed so much. It's not that it was different then or better now. I think it's just different layers to it. You just, okay, well, let's try this now. Let's try. Look how many times we changed those workshops to kind of figure out what's the right pathway of presenting it. Like, and they're all good.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, maybe this was easier. So you always adapt. So I think that's being an infinite player in both playing and coaching is big, man. And challenging yourself, and God damn it, you gotta like it. Otherwise, you spend like a lot of time. You don't want to waste that part of your life. And
More than
not
half your
liking it.
time.
Yeah.
It's more than half your time
Yes.
that we're doing.
Yeah.
As a career.
Teaching a junior, right, developer or adult, doesn't matter. A stroke or a concept. What do you think is the one of the ways, not the best way, because it's no best, but of having and implementing in the match? What's your way of being like, all right, look, we just learned this new forehand. We just fixed this one part of your forehand. What do you tell them? When it's time to? How do you apply it? How do you build them up towards, okay, you can now trust it in the match, or you let them do that?
I mean, for me, on the opposite side of it, like, because I turned my whole game on its head the past like year and a half or so. Like,
That's beautiful.
like if I'm going into playing even like a practice set and I'm thinking about my technique, then I'm screwed. Like, it's already over. It's done.
Yes.
Right? So if I can get to the point where I've practiced something, hit like 1,000 balls on the ball machine, done it, just repping out cross-court rallies, whatever, and I don't have to think about it, then I know I'm good. Right? But if I have to actively change something.
But that's what I'm saying is like, what's that pathway, right, of going there? Because you do, and this everybody's different, right? But you do learn a skill. Because that's what you do. You teach a skill, and you want to be able to do it in isolated scenario when you're feeding or drop feeding, and then live ball with you when you have the person focusing intrinsically on just that one thing. Right, so their mind is inside. We did this on Monday in practice, right? So your mind is focused on that skill or the pattern they try to develop. And then in a match, your brain has to shift, because now you're playing other people and your mind has to be focused there, and you cannot be in two places at once. So what you're saying there is very important, because I think it comes, doesn't come a time. It comes a time is that automatic, but you need to, whatever reps you need for that shot to become automatic, they need to be implemented in. And then you need to allow yourself the freedom of really screwing it up in a match, or at least a practice match initially. If you have to think about it, fine, but ideally you want to get there without having to think about it.
So was your question,
what's the easiest way to do it, right?
So
is there an easy way?
Is it as a student or as a teacher?
As a teacher.
When do you make that decision to say, hey, you can try this?
Yeah, you can apply this, yeah.
I mean, in my personal opinion and experience, I think it's not a set time.
Yep.
Like you say, it's dependent on the player and the student.
Mm-hmm.
I think sort of the gradual progression that I personally make is, we're given lessons and you're always constantly talking to them. Then you get to the point where it's like, okay, just make up a name, Bob. Now we're gonna start playing some points out where I am not gonna say one word. And I think that sort of gets them into a match play where they're figuring it out on their own. Don't think about anything.
Yeah.
Let's just start playing. And I think when I sort of get that feel where they're confident and they're not getting frustrated, where they're making mistakes, winning or losing, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they're actually trying to execute. I think that's a telltale sign for me saying, hey, why don't you try this tomorrow in your practice without me?
Yeah.
And those are the steps, I feel.
Yeah.
Where you could sort of tell them, okay, turn, and you could start doing it now
Trust
on your
it.
own. Trust it.
Trust it.
Yeah, I say that a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Trust it. Trust the process.
Trust it, and then be okay with not making it, and that's giving
Like,
information when
you
you don't
have to
do
make
it.
mistakes to get better.
Yeah. Well, your brain does right when you develop habits. Your brain develops neurological connections there, and that's what it defers to automatically. Right, it's automatic behavior. That's what our brain does. You
Yeah.
learn something, send automatic behavior. So you do that. Those pathways are so ingrained in you that, especially if you change something, now if you learn something new, if you change something, you literally have to change tracks.
Yeah.
And that takes longer than just learning something new. So I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, okay, you're creating a different pathway there. You gotta push and let it until it becomes automatic, and that takes a while.
It does.
Because your brain will revert for the longest time to what it has been doing, whatever that is, whatever that thing that you try to change is. And it is I think up to us to know when it's time to be like, all right, don't think about it, just do it.
Correct.
And let's see where you're at. But it's I think is the biggest challenge. I think it's the biggest challenge, especially when you change something. I mean, look how tough it is later for a lot of even top players to change a certain stroke. It's or learn a stroke. I mean, not now because most of them are complete, but not really, not all of them. To learn a correct slice, right? Or a really nice feather-like slice. That's hard for a lot of people because they haven't done it. And there's a certain age where you learn those things. And I actually talk about let's just talk about this. So maybe we did talk before, but on Thursday night I was talking to those guys. And what's the age you think where, in average, we did talk here, right? When a player cannot go past a certain level of 4-5, 5-0. We talked about that, right? Age of learning. Like when I'm telling you right now, you give me a kid that's 14, he has the capability of becoming a 5-0 plus player. You give me a 19-year-old, that becomes very, very hard. You give me a 22-year-old, I can
And
tell right now.
You're saying they're starting.
There's certain motions and certain moves that you can only learn and develop successfully and efficiently as a kid. There's not. You think about one player that picked up tennis after. Let's not even say 19, 18, because there's exceptions there. Not many, I don't think. That picks up tennis at 22, and they become a 5-0 player or better.
And you don't think that can happen?
I think it's no. I don't want to say ever. I think it's
Larry has an example.
extremely
right here.
hard.
Yeah. Maybe different. Are you talking moving from different levels, or are you talking about elite 4-5 to 5-0?
Elite 4-5, like shots that they can do an exhibition. Like I'm talking, whatever the line is, just
I think it's a small percentage.
very small.
It can happen.
I'm
though.
not saying it's impossible, but it's very
mean,
small.
I'm not talking about myself, but when Dolphy was saying his best tennis was learned in college.
Yeah, but it was developed in college. I think he learned certain things like your movement, your footwork, your intuition.
I think my best tennis was learned in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Well, you're the 1%.
I think I got through my 20s by, I don't know, being a hack.
I know, but you played in your teens too.
I did,
There you go.
but
You don't apply, guy.
so you're talking about a brand new
Yeah,
kid.
so
That's
a
what I'm
beginner
saying.
that
Oh,
starts
well,
up,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
got to be.
That's Oh, I'm
14
sorry.
years old,
I
15
misunderstood
years
the
old.
question.
No. Somebody did not developing your game. Dude, I've developed my game now too, of course. Developing it, you pick somebody that has never played tennis before.
Yeah, small percentage. I think I would raise that bar a little bit, that number.
I don't know one. All my tennis life, I don't know one person that it was a 5-0 that picked up tennis.
It's
At
funny.
18.
I do know one, and it's the guy who taught me how to play tennis at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was a 3-sport athlete, Division I athlete in college. He played soccer, basketball, and baseball.
Okay.
and picked up tennis probably when he was 24, 25, 4.550, legit. That's the only one though
Yes.
that I know.
You're right. Small percentage.
Yeah,
like, tiny.
And you
I don't
have
know
to,
anybody.
and you have to. He's probably one of the best athletes I've ever met in my
So you
life.
have
you
to-
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? You
Yeah.
have to have.
Yep.
You have to be a crazy good athlete.
I-
To be able
if
to
you're
do-
talking,
But it's almost like you said that. I think he developed
Skills
Things-
through
Correct.
soccer, through yeah.
so if you're
during those
Right.
time of sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
common folk,
Yeah.
right off the street, no athletic,
I even go as low as 18.
I'd say lower.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
I'd say high schooler,
Yeah.
freshman in high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So what is that?
14 will be
What age
more
is that,
like
Alex?
yeah.
12, 13?
Like 14ish.
I think that's where you develop it.
I think it's very different in other
3.5
sports
stuff.
too, though. Tennis is one
Tough.
of the only.
Yes. It's a very exact
Yeah.
sport.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's plenty of golfers that pick it up in their
You were saying
that
30s,
too. That's different.
and
Yeah.
they're a scratch
You
golfer,
can.
which
You
is the
can be, yeah,
equivalent to a
that's
5-0. You know what I'm saying?
You were saying that it's such a good point, but and that tells you because it's so many more variables in
right,
tennis.
too many. Yeah.
You're depending on speed of the other guy. In golf, you don't.
Whereas
It's
golf
stationary.
is yeah, yeah,
stationary,
yeah.
stationary
It's,
object.
The
yeah,
other
it-
ones are harder because you don't play them as adults as much. You know, like
Yeah.
you don't go and play soccer when you're 40 years old, right? Like I mean, some people do maybe,
Yeah.
but
no,
those
No, you
people played when they were
No, you
10.
don't.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just
Yeah.
decide, hey, I'm gonna pick up soccer
Yeah.
at 40. Yeah.
But you do see people playing tennis every day here, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Talking about age that you can still
Yeah.
play the
Mhm.
sport,
of course.
right? Which is so good. And when you hear him say, "I want to get to a 5-0,"
Yeah,
how can I break it to you?
age 50, 50.
Yeah.
You can get there.
It's
Talking about age.
yeah.
You're just naturally
Right,
going
but
to age
do you
to
agree?
5-0.
Do you agree that that's such a tough thing to do,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That's
It's-
how I'm going to
it's-
get to be a 5-5
That's it.
when I turn 55. Be 5-5.
I do, yeah. I just it just dawned on me because like you try to teach kids and adults and you hear because we all had through our teaching careers people like I'm a 4-0, I want to get to a 5-0 by this time, and the guy's 30 something. It's even that is like
It's not going to happen.
it's not happening.
I
You're
think
40, forget about it.
I think
Yeah.
the other thing that the jump from a 4-0 to a 4, even a 4-5.
Oh,
is
that's the
like-
bridge. That's
That's
the
big.
bridge. That's the bridge.
It is
Yeah.
like
That's the
most-
barrier, I should say.
That's, people max out. There are a lot of 4-0s. There are not that many 4-5s out there.
Correct.
Yeah, and then it's just
Right. And as it gets
Verified,
higher,
yeah.
obviously, it's
verified air there. Yeah.
I think I could drop everything right now, work for a year on just my game, and still probably not get to a 4-5 if I wanted to.
It's tough.
It's hard.
Because you need the matches. You need
Yeah.
the 100 matches.
Yeah.
To advance 0.25 in levels.
And I'm 20.
Yeah. No, you can do it.
No, I can't.
You can do it.
No chance. I can't, and I know I can't.
I think you do.
Maybe if I started younger.
No, I think you do. I think you do because you have some skills. You can get.
Oh,
It's just
thanks.
it will be
Just some.
Well, you have some skills.
You have
that
a couple.
A lot of people.
You're good with
don't-
producing.
Don't have.
You're good.
Yeah.
Your skill.
I can click the mute button pretty well.
And that gets me to another point, that the importance of match play. Right.
Oh, yeah.
That is. There's no substitute for it. Right.
I bet you Larry sees it at the best level. The kids that, I've been taking lessons for 5 years, haven't played and then they get out and play a high school match, and it's like, stroke-wise, they should be killing some kid, right? And then athleticism takes
we'll suffer.
over, and
And the human nature. They
Right.
play scared.
Right, yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
you don't have that experience. You don't have that information in your head on how to handle that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because you need to go through anything in life. You need to go through a bunch of times to have a better understanding of it, of what it is. How can I deal with it? I've been down 5-2 before. I
Right.
know that guy is nervous because I see him. He's nervous serving for
Right,
for the set. I know what I'm gonna do. You can turn a match on his head just for that
Yeah.
one game.
Yeah.
Just by being like, I'm not gonna give him anything at this point. I'm gonna enter athletic mode, and everything goes over.
Yeah.
Beat me, and let's see where that takes you. And that's gonna mess with your mind. This just. But you need to be there. You need to do it a lot of times to, right? Because that's match play, man. It's you can. I always say that I don't play for whatever. You know, you go through those streaks. You don't play for 2-3 weeks or a month or whatever it is, and I can go hit. That's fine. I can get my timing back, but until I play 6 sets, I'm not asking anything of myself. I learned that over time, the hard way.
Yeah.
Because it's not. I can't. I shouldn't.
And the more pressure you put on yourself, the worse it gets, right?
I can make
Yeah,
the shot. No, not yet. Not at that speed. Not in the match. 6 sets. After that, we can talk about
Yep.
things.
Yeah, that's one of the most frustrating things for me now when I play is knowing what I used
Yeah.
to be able to do compared to what I'm capable of now.
But yeah,
I mean, I know I'm still
You
probably
could-
capable of it,
course you're
but
capable, yeah.
but now I've lost so much time out there that it's much harder to get back, and I'd have to put X amount of hours
I
in.
think it's quicker to get it back than you think. Not back, but what you do lose is reaction time.
Right. Yeah.
The eye is not sharp. The brain is not. Those neurological patterns that we talked about. They're lazy now.
Yeah.
They're still there. They're always
Yeah.
going to be there. So you have to go and just do it and do it a bunch of times. I said it before, and it's Mike Tyson's interview, man. He was on Rogan a while ago. He was talking. He started back training, and he was
Was he on mushrooms?
not on that one. Not on that one. Did you see the one on mushroom when he was talking about it? Yeah. But he was saying how it's like it's not the physical part that was hard for him. It's like the amount of time to make a decision, and he realized, or he knew all along. I don't know, that the less he's competing, the longer the time for him to make a decision on the spot, on the 10th of a second is. And the same thing for us.
Yeah.
We have to make decisions on 10th of a second based on what we see over there to recognize a pattern and go for the right shot. If you haven't seen it enough, you're not going to be able to do it. So therefore, we can expect to do it. Like, I just got to see this, and I don't care if I get blitzed. Right? Isn't that? Because that's what match play is, man. That's why you see all those players. They sometimes don't have the best strokes, the ones club level, but they play a lot. And that counts for
true.
a lot. There's going to be a limit, right?
Yep.
Your technical limitations will stop you. But competitiveness, that's important. Physically, too, to know what you can count on your body. Then know that after an hour and a half, you're ready to go. Or not ready to go. You're like, "Oof, cramping now." Right? That's... on the... we talked last time about the importance of the serve and volley, right? And being the most important thing in doubles. And
I remember that. Yep.
Right now, I wanted to talk a little bit about in doubles the supporting roles, the server's partner and the returner's partner, right? The importance of that, and how you can affect the play just by positioning, and just by readiness and sending the message that you're ready to play. Right? We talk about all the time. But a server's partner that's not ready there, close to the alley.
Mm-hmm.
Or server partners in the middle of the service block, low, ready position. It sends a different message to that returner, right? But adds a different pressure to that. That's such important. You're doing it so good. You're freaking so low there when your partner's serving with your big calves. Right? Don't. I think that's such a forgotten thing. Is not the right way to put it, but not really pressed much of a point the importance of those two. Same thing with the return, right? Because as a returner's partner, you can only hit the fourth ball of the rally.
Correct.
And you tend to become spectator. You enter spectator mode, you watch the play.
That's the thing. I mean, the term that Dolphy knows, like playing without the ball.
Yeah.
I say that a lot in practices. Like the two people that aren't physically involved in the point, you have to be aware and you're playing without the ball. So your movement and what you are sending to the other side is super important, exactly what you were saying. But those are the people that fall asleep
Yes.
in club tennis.
Yes.
They just sit there and they're watching the ball, and then the ball gets hit to them. Like, oh, I didn't expect the ball to come to me. Well, you're not. You have to engage yourself mentally, one, but physically is the big one. You physically get in there,
well,
then you are mentally
message,
in.
right?
Yeah, they send the message.
Send a different message to your opponents and what you're ready for. Because, again, you see somebody on the other side that's on their heels and running backwards, you're confident. You see someone that's ready to pick up your ball.
You can keep it away from them.
Now
Yeah.
you're not. It's a little bit harder
Correct.
to deal with that,
Right.
right? So same thing. If you move and distract the player, that's another thing, right? The importance of the your body movement. It's an object that your opponents, even if you're not the one hitting the ball in doubles, your opponents see your partner hit the ball, so there's the ball moving. This partner can move in, serve and volley or not. They're a point of focus. So now there's 2 points of focus. You can be the third. So now you
Correct.
split their attention in 3. That does something to that player versus server that stays back, this player that moves to the
Yeah.
side. Now you have 2 stationary targets and a moving ball. Way easier for that player to do whatever they want. Will they do it? Who knows? But yeah, that's a big one. I think serve and volley we talked a lot, and the focus on the return and then the supporting roles. I like to touch up on those parts quite a bit, because how often the point doesn't go past 4, right? We talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's and and in the singles, Dolph, we enter your territory here, right? Other than footwork, which is obviously in singles, I feel like I would put that number 1. If you don't have good footwork, you're not gonna be a good singles player, right? That's you can be a good doubles player without the best footwork, not a great doubles player, but you cannot fake it in singles.
And, well, that's the other thing. You don't have to be the fastest either if you have good footwork, right? So that's the most important. I was
Mhm.
never the fastest guy out there,
Yeah.
but my footwork took over, so now I'm to the ball before
Yeah.
so it's like
Well, it's also like the feel of the play, right? Your
Right.
anticipation, and that goes
Yeah.
into the pocket positioning
Right,
where you're at, but being ready, having those
Yeah.
muscles ready to go, right? Again, if somebody just picks up singles, man, I'll tell them like when you're competing, focus on moving, split stepping, be in the right pocket position. Those should be your focus at the first 10 matches.
Correct.
Nothing else.
Yep.
Nothing else. Whatever you do after that, find the pocket, be on your toes, make sure you do the correct shadowing there on the pocket, and go for gold.
You want
Enough
to come?
to-
You want to come to my high school practices and say the same thing I've been telling them?
If they don't listen to you, man. You mean not tell them not to have the heels touch the ground and just pick their nose?
Mute me, Ellis.
That's
a lot of time.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is you have it or you don't, though. When you
Yes.
know, like
yes.
it's tough to build that type of
Yeah.
stuff. You can work ladder drills, whatever it is, as much as
Yeah.
you want, but it's either
Yeah.
you have the mentality to do it every time or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And go into the mentality, right, of competing. Same thing. This first layer of that, in my book, should be understanding that you are trying to win at this particular game. You're doing the best you can. Do the best you can, right, mentally. Be okay with not succeeding. Be okay with not
Correct.
doing it. Be okay with like, man, I felt, because that's information.
Yeah.
If you haven't done something, that's information. So be smart about it and take it as good information, not disappointment and whatever else that goes through your mind. That no, it's okay. I lost. Why?
Correct.
There's
Except
an answer there that I can use to get better.
Yeah.
Right.
a lot of people when they compete, they think it's win or nothing,
Correct. It's
and that's wrong.
so
It's
much
so-
info that you
yeah.
can get from a loss.
Correct.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You were saying, Dolphy, right? That some of your best matches, right? You're like when you had to figure out you're losing, you had to figure out stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That's the game. Figure it out, man. It's not.
Yeah, I think that's what elevates the best players to the whatever in whatever scenario it is, club
Yeah.
tennis, professional tennis, whatever it is, it's being able to problem solve in the time that you're out there.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Right.
that's
Doing it after is one thing, it's good, right? Being able
And
to problem solve
it-
after, but being able to problem solve during a match is
and you do it with your
one of the tools,
coaches.
yeah.
They help you, but at some point, you have to figure out yourself. Yeah. That's if people would change the mental game to just that, it'll be such a more pleasant experience. Not that there isn't, right? Because even the emotions of losing and winning, that's powerful and they're good. But if you be like, all right, what happened there? Let me take that
That's right.
information. Give it to me.
Correct.
I'm not a finished product.
Yep.
I'm never a finished product. So even if I win, there must be some things I could have done
Right.
better. Right? Letting go of a loss after you learn that information is the way to go. Like, yeah, you lost, but you beat me 1-0. But I learned so much of what I need to work on. Right?
That's right.
So that is, I think that's the right method. I mean, yeah, you can be upset about it for a little bit, but then laugh and move on. All right, you gotta go. Is it time for you or?
Yep.
Yeah. Ooh, it's time.
Yeah, it is time. We're gonna
All good, man.
all good, but that's good. We've got an hour and 5 and 7, right? So where we at?
Hour 8.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, perfect.
That's it. It's a good one. All right, fellas.
Good stuff.
Thank you.